Hey guys, welcome to the Halloween edition of the Blockbusters show, and yeah, you guys like my Halloween costume? Yeah, I'm dressed up like the media whiz. Yeah, I know, it's incredibly stupid. So you guys probably noticed that there's no Mike and Jerry because, well, they're busy, and Steve said I had to make this a solo review, so then that might happen sometimes on the show. Sometimes Mike and Jerry can't show up, so it's just gonna have to be an Adam Sykes solo review, so that's what we're gonna be doing for the Halloween episode. So after sifting through a bunch of potential movies that I could review, like stuff like by Uwe Boll and Ginger Dead Man, Evil Bong, Birdemic 2: The Resurrection, some movie called Clown Hunt, which was found at a bargain bin. Like all these really bad movies, we eventually landed on the highest polling one that people wanted us to do. And we're looking at the 80s sci-fi horror comedy classic, Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Aliens who look like clowns come from outer space and terrorize a small town. So we open with an 80s rock theme song, which apparently that was like a tradition with 80s comedies that they love to make theme songs. I'm going to touch on this point a little later, but the town that the movie takes place in is this like 50s style California town, and like there's only two cops, which was, I don't know about you, but it was giving me feelings of the Andy Griffith Show. And all the teenagers are rebellious. They're going out to make out point. You know, they're drinking their beer brand beer, which, yes, there are seriously cans that just say beer. There's no, like, actual branding on them. Probably couldn't get, like, the rights to any actual beer products, which can't fault them for, because it's technically a low-budget movie, only, like, $2 million, I think. We meet our main characters, Mike and Debbie, and they're drinking their champagne, which is obviously water, not real champagne. And you'll notice very quickly, like, from what I'm going to describe, the movie is very much a nod, like a lampoon, a spoof, if you will, of these like cheesy 50s style horror movies, which was very big in the 80s, and this is the point I wanted to address, that there's another movie that's very well known as a horror comedy, except it did it musically, and that is obviously the Frank Oz version of Little Shop of Horrors. And Little Shop of Horrors, like the original Broadway show that the movie was based on, was technically a parody of bad 50s style B movies, and that's what this movie is. Like, and like in the 80s there was like this fascination like of wanting to like relive the 50s and 60s, and now, you know, that we're in like, you know, 2016, you know, and even back in 2010 we were trying to relive the 80s and 90s for some reason. Mike and Debbie see a shooting star. They decide to follow it and see like where it lands, what happens. You get the cartoonish old coot that lives out in the woods with his hound dog, and again, like this movie is just a nod, a lampoon to these like bad 50s style B movies. The guy runs in to get a shovel, and you could clearly see a visible prop man hand him the shovel, and it's hilarious. Okay, so the old man gets there first, and like the asteroid that landed, look, it appears to be a circus tent. And, well, you eventually see one of these things, and slowly but surely you start to see more and more of them. And they're these, like, freaky-looking alien clowns that have, like, melting faces. And, like, I want to point out, this movie was directed and written by it's either Chiodo or Kyoto brothers. And they're well known for doing the nightmare sequences and the Large Marge sequence, especially in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which explains a whole lot, because this movie will give you night terrors, because these clowns are freaky as hell. The dog and eventually the old man get picked off. Mike and Debbie find well, eventually you find out it's an alien ship, but they go inside and they're just like, oh, it's just some kind of like gag house, some kind of fun house. And the alien technology itself, like the elevators and all that stuff, and like the buttons they push, it looks like something out of like the 60s Star Trek, which keeps in tone with the movie, because they're trying to, you know, lampoon all these like old like sci-fi cartoony kind of elements. It looks like a McDonald's Playland, which again, the clowns, it really does fit well. So I'll give the movie that. I'll give the movie props for that. But eventually Mike and Debbie find out that that there's something evil going on, because they come across these giant like cotton candy cocoons, and they call them that throughout the movie, cotton candy cocoons, which, yeah, say that 5 times really fast. And at first, Mike's just like, oh, it's nothing much. You know, it's just, they just must, like, use this place as storage, you know, to hang them out and dry, and then they'll ship them off. But then rips off some cotton candy, it's a bloody dude's face. And, yeah, you'll eventually find out later, like, what the clowns actually do. But the clowns notice them. They use a popcorn gun. Now, here's the one thing the one complaint I have about the movie it's really inconsistent what they do with the popcorn. Like later on, it like apparently the popcorn can like create these like snake clown creatures, and which some people have theorized like maybe that's like how like clown tadpoles, like maybe that's how they reproduce. Like they use it as ammo. Like the clowns are carrying it around in bags, and like they turn people into popcorn at one point. Like it's very inconsistent, like what the popcorn actually is. But that is, again, it's a nitpick. So of course the clowns notice them run into town, so the clowns follow them, and this really awesome shot that has this rockin' 80s music. That scene was so cool. So the two end up going to the only cops in town. Dave, who it turns out was actually Debbie's boyfriend at one point, and so there's like a tension between them. And Officer Mooney, who's this old, like 50-something-year-old, curmudgeon who just, hates all the teenagers. And at first, Dave just thinks Mike is crazy, and even when he takes him to show him evidence, the clown spaceship is gone. But they eventually come across, all the cars of the teens that were there at Makeout Point covered in this cotton candy. And you eventually have a scene where all the clowns are going around on a rampage, turning people into cotton candy. And again, you'll eventually figure out later, like, what the cotton candy is meant for. But right now, you know that it's bad news. Eventually, Mike and Dave, which, oh my god, I just realized that was a movie that came out this year. Mike and Dave, I just realized that. Holy crap, that's... Mike and Dave, wow.
We don't want you showing up stag and riling each other up.
We don't rile each other up.
We never get riled up.
We're down.
And it's also people that I know. Mike, who's the guy who always wears the hat. Yeah, he's always hanging out. And Dave was this one guy that we fought in a park somewhere. It was kind of confusing. We don't even know. I don't even remember why we fought him.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah, we barely even know this guy.
This was a dumb idea. You want to try it again? Go to the mall?
So Mike and Dave, like earlier on, they drop off Debbie, tell her to just stay at her house. In a PG-13 manner, she gets undressed and she like has like some popcorn still on her clothes from like when the clowns fired the popcorn guns at her. And eventually, the popcorn goes into her hamper. Water eventually goes from her shower into the hamper. I forget how that happened. Oh, no, it didn't go into the hamper. It landed on some popcorn that was on the ground. And eventually these things turn to like the tadpole things. Oh, there's one guy who calls, and this is going to be important for later. This one guy, you can hear him calling. He's like, help, my wife was taken away in a balloon by the clowns. And that comes back later. Officer Mooney is just like, screw this entire town. It's clearly some kind of practical joke. It's just a prank, bro. If only he said that. And Mooney gets killed by the clown that has like one of those party blowers that makes a giant hand come out and grab him by the throat. And when Dave goes back to get some backup at the police station, there's clown footsteps all over the walls. The two criminals were turned into cotton candy cocoons, and there's this really good line from Mooney that pays off, and the clown turns him into a dummy. And the line from earlier was, "You don't need the police, pal. You need a psychiatrist. No one's gonna make a dummy out of me." So it was really good foreshadowing, and the line was actually really funny. The line went something like, "It's okay, Dave. We just want to kill you." So the clown's about ready to kill Dave, but Dave's not giving up without a fight. Pulls out his gun and shoots him a couple times, and he ends up shooting the clown in the nose, and that's what kills the clowns. The nose is their weakness. And like, it's actually, you know what, that's actually pretty clever. Like it's the old it's kind of like a zombie movie where you have to shoot the head, but these things are clowns. And they have these giant big red things on their faces, and that's what kills them. That's like their source of power. That's really clever. That's one of the things that I liked about the movie, is that it's very creative. Like there's like, not a movie of this type. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of killer clown movies. There's a bunch of really crappy like movies with generic titles too. Clown or Clowns. Like they're really generic with their titles. Obviously, It by Stephen King is like the most popular one, and let's face it, the only reason we watched that movie is because Tim Curry as the clown was hilarious.
Excuse me, sir. Do you have Prince Albert in a can? You do? Well, you better let the poor guy out.
But this movie is just so creative with, the way the clown technology, the clown logic, the clown lore that they kind of establish. And, clearly there's a bunch of fans of this movie that have, started creating theories about the clowns, and it's really, like, the theories themselves are actually pretty cool. Like, there's theories about, like obviously we said earlier, the the clown tadpoles being popcorn and all that stuff. And here's where the other theory comes in. Now, Debbie gets kidnapped in a balloon by the clowns, and some people were like, well, why didn't they just cocoon her in cotton candy? Some people theorize, because the line from earlier about the man who called that his wife was taken away in a balloon, some people theorize that maybe the balloons are to trap women, so that maybe the clowns can impregnate the women and breed other clowns. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, it's a good theory, but it's bizarre. And it also doesn't really help because even in the movie, there are female clowns in this one ball pit scene, which we'll get to that later. That's another thing I want to address. This movie has really good design work. Like, everything is just, again, going with the creativity. It's just, everything is just so weird and strange looking, and, well, it's from the Chiodo brothers. That's what made those nightmare sequences in Pee-wee's Big Adventure look really cool, so props to them, man. They were really good. Meanwhile, while Dave calls for backup, Mike gets the help of the two comic relief characters known as what were they called? The Terenzi brothers, who are always driving around in an ice cream truck and just being generally asses, bad comic relief. I don't want to say bad comic relief. They're not really annoying. They're not like the lemmings from Norm of the North. But, so Mike tells them that they need to get to Debbie's, but of course Debbie's taken away by the clowns. This leads to a high-speed chase. Dave ends up meeting up with them. They all drive down to where the clowns have now regrouped. And where have the clowns regrouped? Obviously at the boardwalk. And there's a scene that's actually pretty funny where the clowns take out this one security guard. They all just whip out pies that you eventually find out are like acidic because they melt him down to the bone. And the security guard just has the most nonchalant line in the entire scene. All right, what are you gonna do with those pies, boys? Eventually our main gang of Mike, Dave, and the Terenzi brothers, they end up getting onto the ship, wandering around for a little bit, and we get some more dialogue about why the clowns are here, and the dialogue is actually pretty good. They start spitting out theories like, oh, maybe they came here to restock on food, maybe they're trying to connect with us for some reason, maybe our idea of human clowns came from them when we went up into space. It's actually really good dialogue. It's really well written. Eventually the Terenzis get separated into the ball pit scene that I mentioned earlier, and they come across two female clowns, which, I don't know, those clowns look like cross-dressers. They didn't even look like real female clowns, that's the point. I mean, there's really only so much you can do with the weird-looking faces that the clowns have. They come across Debbie, and they save her from the balloon. And I love how it's one of those movies, one of the scenes where they're like, quick, let's help all the other people. But of course the enemies show up, so they can't really save anyone else. It's one of those, they gotta save themselves. And also, you finally find out about the cotton candy. Apparently the cotton candy death ray guns, they just kill you instantaneously. But this one big fat clown comes in, and he uses the silly straw, and he puts it into one of the cotton candy things, drinks it, and it looks like Kool-Aid, but it's obviously supposed to be blood. So it pretty much, I guess, liquefies humans. And he just leaves the cotton candy dangling. It's like, you throw that away, you fat dick. So they eventually get chased around after saving Debbie. They run around the spaceship for a little bit, being chased by clowns. They eventually get cornered in this huge arena area. But the Terenzis come back with the ice cream truck that has a giant, electronic clown head. And they talk like they're the god of the clowns. And the clowns actually buy it at first, but of course they've come across the big boss, which the fans have dubbed Clownzilla. And Mike and Debbie get away. You think the Terenzis are dead because Clownzilla picks up the ice cream truck with the Terenzis in it and he just throws it and it explodes. By the way, every explosion in this movie, again, going back to Little Shop of Horrors, it looks like the explosion from the end of the theatrical cut of Little Shop of Horrors. Dave stays back to fight Clownzilla. You think he's done for, but he's able to wiggle his arm free, get his badge, stabs Clownzilla in the nose, and as the spaceship is about to take off, it blows up. And the only thing that seems to remain is the clown car, and you're like, oh no, what is it? And Dave and the Terenzis are both alive, which so many people are like, the Terenzis should have died, and here's their reasoning. This was their genuine reasoning for this.
Well, yeah, it was the craziest thing. We hid in the refrigerator, and we survived the explosion.
And when I watched the movie, my initial reaction was, well, if Indiana Jones can survive a nuclear bomb in a refrigerator, I guess this works too. And the movie ends with pretty much everyone in the town's dead except for these 5 people and all these extra cops that I think they said was from the next county over or whatever. And they're like, well, that's the end of that. They get hit in the face with pies and it just fades to black with the awesome Dickies theme song in the back. And yeah, that's Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Now, like I said throughout this entire review, this is an intentionally bad movie. This movie, and I don't even want to say it's intentionally bad. It's just, it's goofy. Like, it's not really bad. Because, I mean, if this movie was, like, twice as campy as it already is, this could easily be like Airplane or Naked Gun or one of those kind of movies. Like, it's not really a bad movie. It's just incredibly silly. Like, that's like the whole thing about it. It's a horror comedy. Like, I mean, Birdemic was not supposed to be a comedy. The reason that people say it's a comedy is because of how terrible it is and how people make fun of it. This, however, is supposed to be bad. Like, this is pretty much what Sharknado was when Sharknado first hit the scene, but in the 80s. And, you know, like, eventually, like, a bunch of other movies that spawned. Like, I mean, Slither to a certain extent. What's that other movie? Eight-Legged Freaks. Like, movies like those. But, you know, it's just a silly premise, you know, and everyone's so deliciously campy and overacting. It's a silly premise. You got killer clowns from outer space. And, you know, it's just delightfully silly and goofy. And you know what? Like I said, if this was, like, supposed to be a genuine horror movie, I would absolutely hate it because of how stupid it is. But since it's a goofy, cartoonish film that's just so delightfully strange and hilarious, I absolutely love it. Wow, I can't believe I went this entire review without being attacked by a killer clown, what with the killer clowns that have been going around in October of 2016. I hope a killer clown doesn't come out and get me at the end of this review. Swigger, that's your cue. Hey, I say you better be careful what you say about movies, Holmes, or else I'm going to steal your car, mate. Swigger, what are you doing? What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm just doing what you said, alright? You said come over here in your Halloween costume, and we're gonna do a bit, and, you know, you get all pissed off what I say at the end of the review. You know, it's the typical bullshit. Swigger, no, I texted you to show up, you know, in a clown Halloween costume. What are you doing? Dress up like a clown? Oh, what are we, the news? What are we, SNL? Oh yeah, oh hey, get it, guys? Clowns, 2016, get it, huh? Clown jokes. Dress up like a clown. What do I look like to you, a juggalo? Oh my god, you ruined the bit. Oh my, you asshole, you ruined the bit. You were supposed to dress up like a clown. You're not supposed to wear that. And that's just racist. I'm sorry. That's just, it is. It's like, that's racist. Oh yeah, sure, yeah, say that again, all right? You've known me for years, man. How are you gonna say it's racist? You expect different from me? You ruined the bit. You ruined the bit. Just go, get out of here. Oh my god, it's just stop, go away, Swigga. I don't want to see you for the rest of the day. Fine, man. I don't need you. I'll make money the best way I know how. Mowing someone's lawn, alright? And then maybe I'll steal someone's car. Ese, you gringo motherfucker. Okay then. Well, happy Halloween, everybody. I'm Adam Sykes. This was the Blockbuster Show, and God damn it, Swiggy, you ruined everything.